Maya Chen had finally found her perfect home. After spending 12 years teaching martial arts in Japan and South Korea, she was ready to settle down somewhere quiet. The small house in Oakwood Estates seemed ideal. It had a tiny backyard, friendly-looking neighbors, and was close to the elementary school where she'd just been hired as a kindergarten teacher. Moving day was exhausting but exciting. Maya kept everything simple. She didn't have much furniture, just the essentials. What she did bring were her plants, especially the bamboo arrangements that had traveled with her from Tokyo. They reminded her of morning meditation sessions at the dojo where she'd trained for so many years. On her third day in the neighborhood, a woman knocked on her door. She was tall, probably in her early 50s, with perfectly styled blonde hair and an expensive-looking pantsuit. Her smile seemed rehearsed, like she'd done this 100 times before. "Welcome to Oakwood Estates. I'm Patricia Drummond, the HOA president," she announced, extending her hand with a grip that felt more like a power move than a greeting. "I like to personally meet all our new residents. Make sure everyone understands how we do things around here." Maya smiled warmly and invited her in for tea. Patricia's eyes scanned every corner of the living room, lingering on the bamboo plants near the window. "Those are interesting," Patricia said, her tone suggesting they were anything but. "We do have guidelines about outdoor decorations, you know. Visible from the street and all that." "Oh, these are inside," Maya replied gently. "But I'll make sure to check the rules about anything I put outside." Patricia handed her a thick binder. "This is your HOA handbook. I suggest you read every page. We maintain very high standards here. That's what keeps property values up." She paused at the door. "One more thing. Some previous owners painted their mailbox posts different colors. Yours looks a bit faded. I'd get that touched up within the week if I were you." Maya looked at her mailbox post later that afternoon. The paint looked fine to her. A bit weathered maybe, but nothing terrible. Still, she didn't want problems. She bought paint that weekend and fixed it. The notes started appearing in her mailbox by the second week. The first one was typed on HOA letterhead. "Reminder. Garbage bins must be stored out of sight by 7 p.m. on collection day. Yours were visible until 7:30 p.m. on Tuesday. First warning." Maya had been running late from parent-teacher conferences at school. She'd rushed home and brought the bins in as soon as she arrived. She hadn't realized there was such a strict timeline. The second note came 3 days later. "Your vehicle was parked 3 inches over the driveway boundary line into the grass area. This constitutes a violation. Please ensure proper parking." Maya went outside and stared at her car. She couldn't even see what they were talking about. Maybe one tire had touched the grass slightly? She measured everything carefully and adjusted her parking. By the third week, the notes were coming every few days. Her doormat was non-compliant colors. Her porch light was too bright for neighborhood aesthetics. One evening, she found Patricia standing in her driveway, taking photos of her house with a tablet. "Just documenting," Patricia said without looking up. "Part of my duties as president." An elderly man from the house next door, Mr. Rivera, came over later that evening. He was in his 70s, walked with a cane, and had kind eyes that looked tired. "I wanted to apologize," he said quietly, "for not warning you sooner. Patricia does this. She did it to the family before you. And the one before that. Does what exactly?" Maya asked, though she was starting to understand. "She picks someone, usually someone she thinks won't fight back. Then she makes their life miserable until they either snap or leave. The young couple before you lasted 8 months. Single dad before them made it 11. Maya felt her stomach tighten. Why doesn't anyone stop her? Mr. Rivera looked down at his hands. She controls the board, got her friends elected to every position, and honestly, most of us are scared. She's sued 2 residents in the past 3 years. One over a fence dispute, another over something about tree branches. Doesn't matter if she wins. The legal fees alone are enough to destroy you. There must be something that can be done, Maya said. Maybe, but everyone who's tried has regretted it. He patted her shoulder gently. My advice? Keep your head down. Don't give her ammunition, and maybe start looking at other neighborhoods. That night, Maya sat in her living room surrounded by moving boxes she still hadn't unpacked. She'd finally found a place to call home, a job she loved, and now this. Part of her wanted to just leave, find somewhere easier. But another part, the part that had spent years training in discipline and patience, knew that running wasn't always the answer. She'd dealt with difficult people before. In her years teaching martial arts, she'd encountered aggressive students, competitive rivals. even people who'd challenged her because they didn't believe a quiet woman could be skilled. She'd handled all of it with composure. Patricia Drummond was just another test of patience. Maya decided she would follow every rule perfectly, respond to every complaint with politeness, and wait for things to settle down. Surely Patricia would get bored and move on to something else. What Maya didn't realize yet was that Patricia didn't get bored, and things were about to get much, much worse. Maya thought things might calm down after a month. She was wrong. If anything, Patricia seemed energized by Maya's compliance. Every time Maya fixed something, Patricia found 2 more problems. The morning started like any other. Maya was getting ready for work when she heard footsteps on her front porch. Through the window, she saw Patricia standing there with her tablet, taking photos of Maya's potted plants. "Can I help you with something?" Maya asked, opening the door. Patricia didn't even flinch. "These planters. They're not the approved terracotta color listed in Section 7 of the handbook. I'm documenting this for the monthly violation report." Maya looked at her simple clay pots. They were a natural brown color, the same as dozens of other planters she'd seen around the neighborhood. "I can replace them if needed. I didn't realize there was a specific shade." "Ignorance of the rules isn't an excuse," Patricia said, typing something on her tablet. "That'll be a $50 fine. You'll receive the invoice by mail. $50 for plant pots." Maya felt her jaw tighten but kept her voice calm. "I understand. I'll take care of it." This became the new pattern. Patricia would show up at random times, always with her tablet, always finding something. Maya's garden hose wasn't rolled up properly. Her house numbers needed to be exactly 4 inches tall, and hers measured 3 3/4. The wreath on her door was fine, but only until Patricia decided it wasn't seasonally appropriate anymore. The fines started piling up. $25 here, $50 there, $75 for a repeat offense that Maya didn't even know was a repeat. She was a kindergarten teacher. Her salary wasn't huge. These constant penalties were actually hurting her budget. Other neighbors started avoiding eye contact when they saw her. Maya understood why. Nobody wanted to be Patricia's next target. But the isolation stung anyway. The monthly HOA meeting was held in the community center on a Tuesday evening. Maya had avoided the first one, but after receiving 3 violation notices in 1 week, she decided to attend. Maybe she could speak with Patricia reasonably, adult to adult, and find a solution. The meeting room had about 20 residents scattered across folding chairs. Patricia sat at a table in front with 3 other board members, all women who looked like they shopped at the same expensive boutique. Mr. Rivera was there, sitting in the back. He gave Maya a sympathetic look as she took a seat. Patricia ran through routine business with military efficiency. Pool schedules, landscaping contracts, upcoming neighborhood events. Then she pulled out a folder. "Now for violation updates," Patricia announced. "I want to recognize most of our residents for maintaining our community standards." She paused dramatically. "However, we do have one resident who seems to be struggling with compliance." Maya's stomach dropped. She knew what was coming. "Ms. Chen has accumulated 14 violations in just 6 weeks, Patricia continued, looking directly at Maya. "Everything from improper waste disposal to unauthorized decorative items. I've tried to be patient, but at some point we have to ask if someone is truly a good fit for our community." A woman near the front raised her hand. 14 violations seems like a lot. What kind of things are we talking about?" Patricia smiled tightly. "Well, there have been multiple parking infractions, non-compliant exterior decorations, and just yesterday, I observed her mailbox flag was left up until 2 p.m., which creates an unsightly appearance." Maya spoke up, trying to keep her voice steady. "I apologize for any genuine violations. I've been doing my best to follow the rules, but some of these seem very minor, and the fines are becoming difficult to manage on my salary. Perhaps you should have considered that before moving into a premium community," Patricia shot back. "We have standards here. If you can't maintain them, there are other neighborhoods with lower expectations." The room went silent. Maya felt her face flush. The way Patricia said lower expectations felt loaded with meaning. Mr. Rivera shifted uncomfortably in his chair. "I'm not trying to cause problems," Maya said quickly. After the meeting, a younger woman approached Maya in the parking lot. She looked nervous, glancing around like she was afraid of being seen. "Hey, I'm Lisa. I live on Maple Court," she whispered. I just wanted to say that what happened in there wasn't right. Patricia does this to people. She did it to my friend before she moved out last year. Why doesn't anyone say something? Maya asked. Lisa looked down. Because she'll turn on you next. I have kids. I can't afford the stress or the legal bills. I'm sorry. I really am. She hurried to her car before Maya could respond. That weekend, Maya came home from grocery shopping to find an official-looking envelope taped to her door. Inside was a formal notice of continued non-compliance, along with a bill for $450 in accumulated fines. At the bottom was a note in Patricia's handwriting. Payment due within 14 days or legal action will be pursued. Maya sat on her porch steps, the notice in her hands. $450. That was almost half her monthly take-home pay, for plant pots and a mailbox flag and parking her car wrong. She thought about her training. Her sensei in Japan used to say that true strength wasn't about fighting. It was about endurance, about staying calm when everything inside you wanted to react. She'd spent years mastering that control, but there was another lesson her sensei taught, one that came later in training. There was a difference between patience and allowing yourself to be trampled. Knowing when to stand still and when to stand up was the real test of wisdom. Maya wasn't there yet. Not quite. She would pay the fines. She would continue being polite. But something was shifting inside her. A line was forming, one she hadn't known was there before. Patricia Drummond was about to find out where that line was. She just didn't know it yet. Maya paid the $450 fine. It hurt, but she paid it. She told herself this was temporary. Patricia would eventually lose interest and move on to something else. That's what bullies did, right? They got bored and found new targets. She was wrong again. 2 weeks later, Maya planned a weekend trip to visit her sister in Portland. It was spring break from school, and she desperately needed a few days away from the neighborhood. She packed Friday morning, double-checked that everything around her house was perfect, and left at noon. Sunday evening, she returned home feeling refreshed. The trip had been exactly what she needed, but as she turned onto her street, something felt off. Her driveway was empty. Maya pulled over and stared at the spot where her car should have been. No, where her car had been when she parked it Friday. She looked around, confused. Had someone stolen it? Her heart started racing. Mr. Rivera was watering his plants. He saw her and walked over slowly, leaning on his cane. They towed it yesterday morning, he said, and he looked angry. Actually angry, which Maya hadn't seen from him before. Towed? Why, it was in my own driveway. Patricia came by with a tow truck Saturday around 10 a.m. She had papers saying the vehicle was abandoned, said it hadn't moved in over 72 hours and was therefore subject to removal under HOA regulations. Maya felt like the ground was tilting. But I was just gone for the weekend. 2 days. How is that abandoned? It's not, Mr. Rivera said flatly. She knew you were gone. I saw her checking your house Friday afternoon, looking in the windows. This was planned. The towing company was 40 minutes away. They wanted $300 for the tow, plus $50 per day for storage. 2 days meant $400 total. Maya felt sick. This is insane, she told the clerk at the towing company. I wasn't abandoning my car. I was visiting family. The clerk, a tired-looking man in his 40s, just shrugged. Lady, I just work here. You want your car, you pay the fees. Otherwise, it's $50 a day until you do. Maya paid. She had to. That was $600 in 2 weeks. Her savings account was nearly empty now. Monday afternoon, Maya requested an emergency meeting with the HOA board. She needed to address this directly. The secretary, one of Patricia's friends, tried to say the next available meeting was in 6 weeks. Maya insisted. Finally, they agreed to meet that Thursday. The meeting was held in the same community center. This time, only the board members were there. Patricia sat in the middle, flanked by her 3 friends. They all had matching folders in front of them, like they'd prepared for this. Maya had prepared too. She brought copies of her weekend trip confirmation, photos showing her car legally parked in her own driveway, and a printout of the HOA rules about vehicle removal. Nothing in the rules said a car couldn't be parked for 2 days. Thank you for meeting with me. Maya began, trying to keep her voice steady. I want to discuss the towing incident. I believe there was a misunderstanding. Patricia didn't let her finish. There was no misunderstanding. The vehicle appeared abandoned. We acted appropriately to maintain neighborhood aesthetics. It was 2 days, in my own driveway. The rules don't support this. Patricia opened her folder. The rules state that any vehicle appearing to be abandoned or unused for extended periods may be removed at the board's discretion. We exercise that discretion. 2 days isn't extended, Maya said, feeling her patience starting to crack. And it cost me $400 to get my car back. I'm asking the HOA to reimburse me. Patricia actually laughed. It wasn't a friendly laugh. Reimburse you? For your failure to properly notify the board of an extended absence? I don't think so. Extended absence? It was a weekend. Your tone is becoming aggressive, Ms. Chen. One of the other board members chimed in. We're volunteers doing our best for this community. We don't appreciate being spoken to this way. Maya took a deep breath. Her hands were shaking, but not from fear, from pure frustration. Years of training and self-control were being tested in ways she'd never imagined. I'm not being aggressive. I'm asking for basic fairness. You knew I was gone for the weekend. This feels targeted and personal. Patricia stood up. Are you accusing me of something? I'm saying this doesn't feel like it's about rules anymore. I think we're done here, Patricia said coldly. Your request for reimbursement is denied. If you have issues with how this board operates, you're welcome to find another place to live. She gathered her folder and walked toward the door. The other board members followed like obedient ducklings. Maya stood there alone in the community center, feeling something shift inside her. That evening, she sat in her living room in the dark. She'd spent years in Japan learning not just martial arts, but philosophy, control, discipline, respect. Her sensei had taught her that a true martial artist avoided conflict whenever possible. That strength was about restraint, not action. But her sensei had also taught her something else. He'd told her about a concept called the immovable wisdom. It was about knowing your center, your core, and not letting anyone push you from it. It wasn't about aggression. It was about standing firm when someone tried to make you move. Maya had been moving constantly for weeks, adjusting, complying, bending, apologizing. Each time Patricia pushed harder. Each time Maya gave ground. She thought about the families before her who'd left. The neighbors too scared to speak up. The way Patricia had laughed when Maya asked for fairness, something hardened in Maya's chest. Not anger, exactly. More like clarity. She'd tried patience. She'd tried politeness. She'd tried following every unreasonable rule. And what had it gotten her? An empty bank account and a bully who thought she could do whatever she wanted. Maya's phone rang. It was Mr. Rivera. I saw your lights on, he said. You okay? I'm done moving, Maya said quietly. What do you mean? I mean, I'm not leaving. And I'm not backing down anymore. If Patricia wants to keep pushing, she's going to find out I don't push as easily as she thinks. There was a long pause. Then Mr. Rivera said something that surprised her. Good. Someone needed to stand up to her eventually. Just be careful. She doesn't like losing. Maya looked at her reflection in the dark window. Neither do I. The confrontation came on a Saturday morning, but not in the way Maya expected. She was cleaning her kitchen when she heard voices outside. Loud voices. Through her window, she could see Patricia standing in the middle of the street with about 6 other residents gathered around her. Patricia was holding her ever-present tablet and gesturing toward Maya's house. Maya stepped onto her porch to see what was happening. Oh, perfect. Here she is. Patricia announced loudly. Ms. Chen, we're conducting neighborhood watch inspections today. Several residents have reported concerns about unusual activity at your residence. Unusual activity? Maya asked, genuinely confused. Coming and going at odd hours. Visitors. We have reason to believe you might be operating a business out of your home, which violates HOA regulations. Maya felt her face flush. I'm a kindergarten teacher. I go to work in the morning and come home in the afternoon. I barely have visitors. That's not what we've heard, Patricia said, her voice dripping with false concern. As HOA president, I have the authority to inspect properties when violations are suspected. I'm going to need you to let us inside. The other residents with Patricia looked uncomfortable. A couple of them wouldn't make eye contact. Maya recognized one as the woman from the board meetings. You don't have the right to enter my home, Maya said calmly. If you have concerns, you can submit them in writing like everything else. Then follow the rules, Patricia said dismissively, turning to the next agenda item. Patricia's expression hardened. Actually, Section 12 of the HOA bylaws gives the board authority to inspect properties when illegal activity is suspected. You can cooperate or I can take legal action. There's no illegal activity. This is harassment. This is my neighborhood, Patricia said, taking a step forward. And I decide what's appropriate here. Now are you going to step aside, or do we have a problem? Maya stood her ground. I'm not letting you into my house. Patricia moved closer, climbing the first step of Maya's porch. You don't get to tell me no. Do you understand that? I've removed better people than you from this neighborhood. She was close now, too close, invading Maya's space deliberately. Her finger came up, jabbing toward Maya's shoulder for emphasis. You're going to learn your place here one way or another. The finger connected with Maya's shoulder. Once, twice, 3 times. Each jab punctuated Patricia's words. Something in Maya's training kicked in automatically. Not the fighting techniques, but the awareness. The reading of body language, positioning, intent. Patricia was escalating. This wasn't going to stop with words. Please step back, Maya said quietly. Or what? Patricia sneered. She shoved both hands against Maya's shoulders, pushing hard. Maya had been trained for this exact scenario for years, not in aggression but in protection. As Patricia's hands made contact, Maya's body responded with muscle memory that had been drilled into her thousands of times. She sidestepped smoothly, redirecting Patricia's forward momentum. In one fluid motion that looked almost gentle, Maya guided Patricia's arm into a basic Aikido control position and directed her sideways against the porch railing. Not violently, not aggressively, just firmly and undeniably. Patricia struggled, but she couldn't move. Her arm was secured in a way that didn't hurt but made movement impossible. Her eyes went wide with shock and confusion. What the let me go? Everyone saw that. She attacked me. I didn't attack you, Maya said calmly, her voice steady. You shoved me. I'm protecting myself. I'm going to let you go now, and you're going to leave my property. But before Maya could release her, Mr. Rivera's voice rang out from the street. Patricia, you just physically assaulted a 4th-degree black belt in karate and Aikido. What did you think was going to happen? The street went silent. Every head turned toward Mr. Rivera, who was standing at the edge of his yard leaning on his cane. That's right, he continued, his voice carrying clearly. Miss Chen here spent 12 years training in Japan. She owned her own martial arts school in Tokyo. I know because I helped her move in and saw all her credentials and tournament medals. She could have actually hurt you just now, Patricia. Instead, she just stopped you. Maya gently released Patricia, who stumbled back, her face bright red. The other residents were staring, some with their phones out. Maya couldn't tell if they were recording or not. She assaulted me, Patricia sputtered, rubbing her arm. You all saw it. I'm calling the police. Please do, Maya said quietly. I'd like to report the assault you just committed against me, and the months of harassment, and the illegal towing of my vehicle. Patricia's face went from red to purple. Illegal? I have authority here. I'm the HOA president. You're a bully, Maya said, and her voice was still calm, still controlled, but now it carried steel underneath. I've been patient for months. I've paid your fines, followed your rules, stayed quiet while you humiliated me. I never wanted to use my training against anyone, especially a neighbor. But you just crossed a line. Lisa, the young woman who'd apologized to Maya after the meeting, stepped forward. Patricia, she's right. I saw what happened. You pushed her first. You were trying to force your way into her house. Stay out of this, Patricia snapped. No, Lisa said, her voice shaking but determined. I'm tired of staying out of it. We all are. You've been terrorizing this neighborhood for years, and we've all been too scared to say anything. Another resident spoke up, an older man Maya had never met. I recorded the whole thing on my phone. You definitely pushed her first, Patricia. She just defended herself. Patricia looked around at the growing circle of neighbors. For the first time since Maya had met her, Patricia looked uncertain. She grabbed her tablet and pointed at Maya. This isn't over. I'm going to have you removed from this neighborhood. I'll sue you, You'll what? Maya asked. Continue harassing me? You've been doing that for months. The difference now is that everyone's watching, and they're not scared anymore. Patricia opened her mouth, closed it, then turned and stormed toward her house without another word. The neighbors stood in awkward silence for a moment. Then Mr. Rivera chuckled. Well, he said, that was something. True to her word, Patricia did call the police. 2 officers arrived about 20 minutes after the confrontation. Maya was still on her porch, now surrounded by several neighbors who had stayed to talk. The officers listened to Patricia's version first. She claimed Maya had attacked her without provocation, that she'd been trying to perform her duties as HOA president when Maya became violent and used some kind of martial arts move against her. Then the officers talked to Maya. She explained calmly what had happened, how Patricia had pushed her first, how she'd only defended herself. "I have video," Lisa said, stepping forward with her phone. "I started recording when things got heated. You can see everything." The officer watched the video twice. Then he watched videos from 3 other neighbors who had also been recording. Every single one showed the same thing. Patricia pushing Maya first, Maya defending herself without any excessive force. The second officer pulled out a notepad. "Ms. Chen, have there been other incidents with Ms. Drummond?" Before Maya could answer, Mr. Rivera spoke up. "Officer, if you have a few minutes, several of us have documentation you should see." What happened next surprised Maya completely. Mr. Rivera went into his house and came back with a thick folder. Inside were printed emails, photos, copies of violation notices, and a handwritten timeline going back 3 years. "I started keeping records after Patricia forced out the third family," Mr. Rivera explained. "I knew eventually someone would need proof of what she's been doing." Other neighbors added their stories. The couple across the street talked about getting sued over a fence that was completely legal. A single dad described how Patricia had reported him to child services with false claims just because his kids' toys were sometimes visible in the yard. Lisa admitted that Patricia had threatened to have her car towed multiple times for minor parking issues. The pattern was clear and undeniable. The officer looked at Patricia. "Ma'am, based on what we've seen and heard today, you were the aggressor in this situation." Ms. Chen acted in self-defense. "Additionally, some of what's being described here sounds like harassment and possibly abuse of your position." Patricia's face went pale. "This is ridiculous. These people are ganging up on me. I've done nothing but try to maintain standards in this neighborhood. By harassing residents and physically assaulting them?" the officer asked. "I'm not going to make any arrests today, but I strongly suggest you step back from any interactions with Ms. Chen. If we get called out here again, the outcome might be very different." After the police left, Patricia retreated to her house and didn't come out for the rest of the day. By Monday morning, word had spread through the entire neighborhood. Maya's phone rang early. It was a man named Tom who served on the HOA board as treasurer, though he'd always seemed quiet during meetings. "Ms. Chen, I owe you an apology," he said. "Several of us on the board have been wanting to say something about Patricia for a long time, but we were scared. After what happened Saturday, we've been talking. We want to call an emergency meeting to vote on Patricia's position as president." The meeting was scheduled for Wednesday evening. This time the community center was packed. Maya counted at least 40 residents, more than she'd ever seen at an HOA meeting. Tom stood up to speak first. "We're here tonight to address serious concerns about how our HOA has been managed. Multiple residents have come forward with documentation of harassment, improper fines, and abuse of authority. As board treasurer, I can also confirm that many of the fines collected over the past 2 years weren't properly documented or justified under our actual bylaws." Patricia tried to defend herself. She talked about property values and standards and her dedication to the community, but her voice lacked its usual confidence. People weren't afraid anymore. The vote wasn't even close. 38 residents voted to remove Patricia as president. Only 2 voted to keep her, and one of those was Patricia herself. A nomination was immediately made to elect Maya as the new president. She tried to decline. "I'm not looking for power or control," Maya said. "I just wanted to live here peacefully." "That's exactly why we want you," Mr. Rivera said. "You didn't fight back until you had to. You tried patience first. That's the kind of leadership we need." Maya accepted, but only after making it clear she wanted to completely reform how things worked. No more targeting individuals. No more ridiculous fines for minor issues. Real transparency and fairness. The changes came quickly. Maya worked with a lawyer to review all the HOA bylaws and eliminate anything that was unreasonable or vague. She created a dispute resolution process so residents could challenge violations before fines were issued. She opened the HOA's financial records so everyone could see where their money was actually going. Patricia listed her house for sale 6 weeks later. Maya heard through neighbors that she couldn't handle the embarrassment of being removed from power. The house sold quickly and Patricia was gone within 2 months. On a Saturday morning in early summer, Maya held the first community event under her leadership. It wasn't a stiff formal HOA meeting. It was a neighborhood barbecue in the community center courtyard. Families came with their kids. People actually talked and laughed together. Mr. Rivera found Maya standing by the grill watching the scene with a small smile. "You did good, kid," he said. "I didn't do anything special. I just stopped letting someone walk all over me." "That's more than most people do," he replied. "You know what I think? Patricia spent so much time looking for weak people to push around that she forgot to actually look at who people were. She saw a quiet woman and assumed you'd never stand up. Biggest mistake she ever made." Maya flipped a burger and laughed. "Want to know something funny? In all my years of training, all the tournaments and teaching, I never actually had to use my skills in a real confrontation. Not once. Then I moved to a quiet suburb and end up needing them because of an HOA president. Life's weird that way," Mr. Rivera said. Later that afternoon, Maya announced a new weekly program, free self-defense classes every Saturday morning in the community center. She framed it as fitness and empowerment, but everyone understood the deeper message. She was teaching confidence, teaching people that they didn't have to accept being pushed around. The first class had 12 people. By the fourth week, she had 30. Maya never intended to be a leader or a hero. She just wanted a peaceful place to call home. But sometimes standing up for yourself means standing up for everyone. Sometimes the person who seems the quietest has the strongest core. And sometimes a bully just needs to meet someone who refuses to be bullied. Patricia was gone, but the neighborhood she left behind was stronger, kinder, and more united than it had ever been, and that Maya thought was the best kind of victory.